America, we need to talk. About the presidential election, again, I know I talk about it a lot, but hey, it's really important what happens at that level in our country. So let's look at this a little bit closer once again. To recap, the Republicans are pretty much all sticking with Donald Trump at this point. It doesn't look like anyone's going to beat him. Once again, I really wanted DeSantis, but seeing as how that's not going to happen, I'm on the Trump train now. The independents have pretty much all rallied behind RFK Jr., even though independent candidates never win, so I don't really know exactly what this is going to do. However, the Democrat Party has a little bit of a problem on their hands. You see, all of them were trying to push for Joe Biden to run again and to try to be president for 2 terms in a row. Presidents have done that in the past. It's doable. But I don't think it's necessarily doable for this man, especially after what happened in the debate. There have been multiple sources from the Democratic Party and multiple of the mainstream media outlets claiming essentially that he's too old and that he should not run for president again. But some people are refusing to let this go. Namely, the press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. Now, according to the Daily Wire, Karine Jean-Pierre claimed on Wednesday that Joe Biden is as sharp as ever, as he's facing calls to step down after his disastrous debate performance. Her remarks come as the president, vice president, Biden's campaign, and the Democratic Party have remained united publicly about Biden remaining as the party's nominee heading into November. A reporter asked her during the press briefing if she believed that the president is as sharp today as he was when he took this job, and if she's noticed any kind of a slowdown. Let's just watch Karine Jean-Pierre's response.
As ever, as I have known him to be in my engagement and my experience with him.
She says that he's as sharp now as he has been the entire time that she's known him and the entire time that he's had this job. This can only mean one of 2 things. 1, she's just straight up lying again, which we wouldn't really be surprised at that at this point. But the other thing that it could mean is that Joe Biden has been like this for the entirety of his term. It's a lose-lose either way. I don't think that they're going to be able to get out of what happened in the debate by claiming that the entire debate was a quote-unquote sheep fake. Not that that fooled anyone in the first place, but it's definitely not going to work with this. This is what the press secretary is saying, and others in the Democratic Party are still trying to hold on to Biden running for re-election. Namely, a bunch of governors. Now, let's look at this. The Democrat governors are essentially lying to themselves at this point if they seriously think that they should run this man again. He's in mental decline, he's in cognitive decline, he shouldn't be in charge of our country. Those are just things that make logical sense. Everyday Americans can put that together. You wouldn't want someone with dementia running your business, so why would you want him running your nation? It makes no sense why they try to continue this, and he's obviously not fit to do the job anymore. Why should they keep trying to have him run when they could easily switch over to a different candidate? I don't really know, but some people seem to feel very, very strongly about this. Once again, according to the Daily Wire, Democrat governors have rallied behind President Joe Biden as he faces growing calls to step aside and not run against Donald Trump in the fall. In addition to that, the Wall Street Journal found in a poll released on Wednesday that Trump leads Biden 48% to 42%, and 80% of voters now say that Biden is too old to run again for president. The governors that actually are backing him up and supporting him, even with this data released, are Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, the chair of the Democrat Governors Association, California Governor Gavin Newsom, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker. Why is his name on here twice? I don't know, but that's just what the article says. New York Governor Katie Hochul, Maryland Governor Wes Moore, and Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear. Other Democrat governors attended Biden's event virtually. Now, what can we see here? We can see that these people really, really want this man to run again, otherwise they wouldn't have publicly declared their support. I think that they're misplacing it, though, because a lot of people are jumping off of the train for Joe Biden, even within the Democratic Party. We've seen what the press secretary and what liberal governors have to say, but what about the rest of America? What about people that actually contribute to the campaign? Let's look at this. Now, we've got that poll from the Wall Street Journal talking about how voters see it, and honestly, how voters see it is very important. We ultimately do decide what happens in the election because we're the ones voting. That's the system that we have here in the USA. So it doesn't look very promising even if you only look at the voters. In addition to that, betting market statistics are placing Kamala Harris above Joe Biden. They have higher stats on probability, and there are higher bets being placed on Kamala Harris. I don't particularly think that's a good idea. However, a primary Democratic donor certainly does. Once again, according to the Daily Wire, major Democrat donors are now pledging not to donate to the Democratic Party's 2024 campaign unless Joe Biden relinquishes his position as the presidential nominee. One of these main donors is Abigail Disney, the heiress who is the granddaughter of Roy O. Disney, who co-founded the Walt Disney Company and has given hundreds of dollars to PACs that support the Democratic Party, including the Jane Fonda Climate Political Action Committee, Planned Parenthood votes, and more. She issued a statement to CNBC expressing her desire for Biden to step aside this week. She said, quote, "I intend to stop any contributions to the party unless and until they replace Biden at the top of the ticket. This is realism, not disrespect. He has served his country admirably, but the stakes are far too high. If he does not step down, the Democrats will lose. Of that, I am absolutely certain. The consequences for the loss will be genuinely dire." End quote. Yikes. If someone who gives your campaign a lot of money will only endorse your party if you step down, you might want to start considering that. If 80% of the people who live in this nation don't think that you should run again, you or your campaign staff or your handlers or Jill Biden for that matter, someone should consider that and actually take it into account. It's just not a good idea at this point. But what is her alternative? Because if you propose any kind of, let's just say you critique the system, surely you know a better way to do it. She thinks that she has a better way to do it, and she thinks that she has someone who will be better to run in Joe Biden's place. Let's look at this. She continued by arguing Vice President Kamala Harris should be the presidential nominee, saying, quote, "We have an excellent vice president. If Democrats would tolerate any of her perceived shortcomings even 1/10 as much as they have tolerated Biden's, and if Democrats can find a way to stop quibbling and rally around her, we can win this election by a lot." End quote. I don't really think that that's how that's going to work either, because if we look at those betting market statistics, she's still multiple points behind Donald Trump. If we look at polls, she's still multiple points behind Donald Trump. I don't think that it's going to be as easy as just switch to Kamala Harris. Now, okay, we've got to consider a couple of things with this as well. Why wouldn't it be easy to just make a switch to Kamala Harris and then all of the United States just rallies around her? Well, the current president may not be able to speak complete English 100% of the time, but if we had her, it wouldn't be much better. And I don't think that America necessarily needs to go from that straight into this.
Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets. Imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know? What can be unburdened by what has been.
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 So headed into November, what do we have to think about? For the Democratic Party, do you really want to keep trying to have Joe Biden run when he doesn't seem to really want to do the job and can't continue to do it for another 4 years? Do you really want to run him again? Do you really want to try to run Kamala Harris, who says the same few words over and over again and repeats them in cycles? Or do you just want to try maybe picking a candidate that has some merit? And I mean merit other than diversity, equity, and inclusion. I know it's a little bit late, and I don't know how it works with state law for votes on all of these different things. I'll admit that I don't really know the entirety of how that system works. But there's got to be a better way to do this, especially before the convention. I'll just leave that to the Democratic Party to consider. Second, Republicans and the rest of us. We need to continue to stand united, because you know what we can do? We all pretty much have decided on one candidate by now. Unless you're an independent and you're going to vote for RFK Jr., the rest of the country pretty much has decided that Donald Trump is going to be the go-to for this next election. But we have to stick to that if we want to win. We can totally make America great again. We can totally take America back. But we've got to stick together. We've got to unite under one banner. And hopefully, America can be unburdened from what has been and what has been has not been great. So, just to close out, once again, the impact is the importance of voting and the significant impact that the Founding Fathers had when they made the system of government that we have today. America is the one country that has a system of government that has not changed forms since its inception. Every other nation has had their government either abolished or changed multiple times. America hasn't. It's because we're doing something right. We've got a good system, we just have to use it correctly. And come November, I think that's exactly what we're going to do. Thank you for watching this episode of Free Speech with Lila Cortez. If you liked what you saw and heard, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and like this video. If you want to listen to the audio version of the podcast, head on over to Spotify. It's also just called Free Speech with Lila Cortez. Have a great day. Be blessed. See you soon.